Is Beth here on to talk to us about Storymaps.
Okay, hello. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Tulanowski, and I teach a few different GIS classes here at CSU. I teach NR 322, Intro to GIS, programming class, and a seminar class, but I'm also the education coordinator for the Centroid, and so I like to teach. I like to share my knowledge. So what I'm going to show today, if I get my screen shared here. We're going to talk about Storymaps. So Storymaps are a web page, basically, and there's different types of Storymaps, but the one that we typically think of are the ones that are created through the Esri environment, through the ArcGIS world, and they're really common, they're really popular. We have been looking at Storymaps left and right for months and probably not realizing it. Between Storymaps and dashboards, we've been looking at a lot of maps lately. So I want to just kind of show you a little bit about what they are and how you can get started with making them so that you can make your own. So yeah, pretty much that. So we'll go into what it is, how do you get started. A big question, which is really important, is where do the data come from? Because you can't make a map without data, and that's usually the hardest part. So we'll touch upon that, but I won't really go into that part because that is its own thing in and of itself. And then finally, just some resources as well. First, what is a story map? And the best way to show you or tell you what a story map is to show you, not just define it. So here I have 4 examples of different story maps. So we'll just start up in the left here and hope it opens okay. Good. So the story map, there are 2 different types of story maps. There's the older version called the classic story map, and then there's the new story map, which are just called ArcGIS story maps. For most people, you probably don't realize that there's 2 types, but the newer type is this one here, where it's scrolling down, and if you listen, you can hear, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's my fan on my computer. It sounds like there's sound on this one. But you scroll down, and it's telling a story using not only maps, but also text and images and videos and just a really nice, snazzy interface. So this is one made by NatureServe talking about biodiversity. So it has some text, some images. You can click on each one and look at it. And then interactive maps. So one of the advantages here is that the story map is tied to online data, to a web map, specifically to a web map. So when you create your story map, it's actually pointing to and tied to a web map. I think it might have to be one that you create. I'm not sure if you can use one that you didn't create. We can figure that out. But these web maps are interactive. So, so you can go here and zoom in on it. We can zoom in on Colorado and look at whatever the map is showing us. In this case, the map is showing us a measure of biodiversity. We don't have a legend on this one, but there is a way to have a legend. Instead, they just have like a description right here. Notice on the left, we have these little dots. So as you scroll down, you scroll into different sections, and each section can have just text or images or like a feature map like this. And then you can keep scrolling back out, and then as you scroll into sections, it can put you into another map or zoom to another area. So there's one example. The other examples I had were, whoops, oh, go away. I just lost my screen. There we go. Here's another one that we may have looked at for all of us living in Fort Collins. This is the Cameron Peak Fire Information Story Map. This one is made using the classic, the older style of story map, and I think this one is a story map series. There's series and there's journal, I forget which is which, but notice that this one has different tabs. And so rather than scrolling down the page to get to your different sections, you have a tab for each section. And then each section can have a picture, like here we have a picture and some text. This one has a video, if it'll load. And then you can have tabs that have an interactive map. It's trying real hard to load. Here it goes. So in the interactive map, it's still trying to load. Then you can just use your zoom tools here and scroll in and out. Quite a lag here. And we have multiple layers. So whoever made this story map had a web map that had all these layers in it. And when they made the story map, they said, hey, make this tab point to that web map. And that's kind of how it comes together. And then you guys can see it. I have to move that around though. But on the right here, we have some text as well. And then you can even put the legend on. Let's look at the next one. This is one that I just got from a student, and I think that student is actually logged in right now, so hello. This one here is really neat. It has sound. I don't know if it will play, but again, this is the new type where you can scroll down. You can also jump to sections from like the table of contents right here. And then in this one, we don't have interactive maps, but we have graphics of maps, and then pictures. And then you can unmute the background audio. We can have a moment of calm. Okay. And then the last one I had, my Zoom window keeps popping up into the wrong place here. This one. The last thing I have here is the Storymap Gallery. So if you want to see more, there are tons. There are, I don't know how many story maps there are out there, thousands of story maps, but you can go to the gallery. I have the link in the slides. And let me turn this one off so it doesn't keep making noise. You can take a look at any of these and just get a picture of what can be done with story maps and what's being done with story maps, basically. The idea with a story map, of course, is to share some type of story. So to tell a story, to relay information, usually in some type of eye-catching, nice kind of way. So these are really great because if you're not a design person, if you don't know how to make web pages, if you don't know how to make really nice layouts on a web page, the story maps have templates and it does it for you. You just have to plug in the data and your text. So it makes it really nice. There's another one I forgot to mention. This one is from CSU. It's the GMSO project, the Global Mapping and Strategic Outreach at CSU. And this one is talking about different research projects going on through CSU. And it's a story map where you can click on each point and it tells the story of that research project that's happening there. So now hopefully we know what a story map is. Minimize that. And they're really easy to make. They're so easy to make that when the new version came out, like the number of story maps exploded, like exponential growth. And we teach it a little bit in my intro class, but what I'm noticing is that after students maybe take an intro level class and they're taking higher level classes or they're working on research, that's when you need to share your information. And it's just a really great way to share that. So next question is, how do you get started? To get started, this is all based on the ArcGIS online world. It's in the Esri world. So you need to have an account. And anyone at CSU has that access to have an account. And then there's two ways to go depending on if you're starting with the classic story maps or the new story maps. If you want to do the classic ones, which are kind of being kicked to the back burner, but they're not really going away anytime soon. So if you like that style, then by all means, still use it. For that one, the basic workflow is you go to arcgis.com and you make your web map. And then from your web map, you have to share it as a web map, tell it to be a story map, and then you configure it. And I'll show you this in a second. And then the other way to make the new story map is you go to arcgis.com, create your web map, but then you go to storymaps.arcgis.com. And then from their landing page, you create a new story map from that interface. And then you configure it and then you tell it what web maps you want to use in it. So in the end, you're gonna get a story map either way. You just have to start a little bit differently. However, it makes it look like your first step is to make a web map, and that's not really your first step. Your first step is really to plan and design, have an idea of what you want your final product to look like, have an idea of your purpose, the goal of the map, who the audience is, who's going to be looking at it, what are they going to be using it for, what is the message you're trying to relay. So have a good idea in your head, kind of storyboard it out. The story maps, whether you're scrolling or tabbing through, you have to think about what sections do you want, what maps do I want in each section, what layers do I want on in the maps in each section. So you really have to put a lot of thought into it first before you get this far into creating your story. Okay, any questions so far? I'm going to actually put on my other monitor, pardon me. And then I can see the chat. I'm hoping, can I see the chat? Oh, now I lost my mouse. For someone who does this all the time, I still mess up sometimes. Okay, so let's actually, well, let's talk a little bit more about where the data come from. Let me open up my chat. Okay. If anyone does have any questions, you can put them in the chat or just feel free to unmute. Where do the data come from? So I mentioned that one of the first layers is to make a web map. So the short answer to this question here, where do the data come from? It comes from web maps that contain online layers. So that begs the question, where do the online layers come from? So these can come from a few different places. These online layers could be data sets that you create in the online system. They could be data sets that you upload into the online system, or they could be data sets that somebody else uploaded into the online system, made public, or maybe something from the Esri Living Atlas, and then you're using someone else's data, like public streaming online services, and you're using them in your web maps. So the web map that we're about to, the story map that we're about to make now will actually do that. So let's start a quick story map so you can kind of see what it looks like, and then maybe answer some questions. Here's a question: which one is easier to paste, copy and paste on another web page? What does that mean? Hold on, which one is easier? Cody, can you clarify your question? So we're going to do a quick story map again so you can see what it is. So the first thing we have to do is think about purpose, what maps, what layers, what style. So we're going to do just a quick one looking at the Cameron Peak Fire. And now all my students from my class are like, yeah, I'm glad I attended because this is part of what they're doing. So I have a couple of maps ready to go, and then I'll show you how you can put it into a story map. So let's dive in. I have some content already. So I am logged into ArcGIS online right now, and I have a web map right here. Here. So we have a question: if you create a web page and are adding a story map to the website, is there a method that works easier? Oh, okay, so if you want to add your story map to a web page, you could copy the link, which would just make it link to that web page. The better way to do it would be to embed it, and then you'd have to get the embed code and put it in there. So we can talk about that later if you want, Cody. So here's a web map that I've created, and I think all of these layers are coming from other online sources. So all of these watershed boundaries and the burn severity and the wildfire perimeter, these are all coming from online layers that I found. I put them all into one web map and I saved it. So now how do I get this into a story map? I can do one of two things. I can start from here and I can hit share. And I can do this button right at the bottom. It says create a web app. And then I have all these different templates for what the web app map looks like. One of the choices for the templates is a story map. And then you can pick what type of story map you want. The one with the tab is called series, so kind of like that one we were just looking at with Cameron Peak. Story map journal is another nice one where you have, you scroll down and the black panel there kind of changes as you keep scrolling down. So if you wanted to do this one, you would click it, you would say create web app, give it a name, and then you would start to configure what you want for each tab. So we're not actually going to do that one today. What we're going to do is go over to storymaps.arcgis.com. So I've gone to this web page and I'm logged in as me. And then any story map I've already made, it already shows up in here. So I already made it actually. But if I wanted to start a fresh, brand new story, I would go here, log in, and click New Story. I want to start from scratch. Or you can do the sidecar option. There's a couple of different options here. Sidecar just makes it like full screen panels as you scroll down. I'll just do start from scratch. And then it really guides you through. So you give it a title. I'm going to be really brief, then I'll just jump into the one that I already made. Give it a title, give it a subtitle, and then all you do is use the little plus sign to add the widgets that make the components of your story map. So you hit the plus sign. What do you want to add? I want to add text. I want to add a separator. I want to add a map, an image, a video, things like that. So if I wanted to add a map, now because I'm logged in, it knows what web maps I've made in my account. Then I just point to the web maps that I've made. So I could point to this one that I made a while back, and it knows what layers are in that web map already. You can't change your symbology here, but you can pick and choose what layers are visible. So you would pick what layers are visible. Here I have some transect data from a thing I helped out on. So you can pick what layers are visible or not, and then you say place map, and then the map goes into here, and then down below you would hit plus sign again to add the next thing. So I'm going to actually back out of here, and I'm going to show you one that I already started that has a lot in it. So this one I made yesterday, and it's got a picture. You can add a picture in here. I have to hit edit, sorry. Okay, so up here you can add a photo or an image, have your title, have a little subtitle, and then here I have my first, this one is a sidecar, so it's just meant to be larger. But I have my little sidecar, like each of these on the bottom, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. These are like slides. And as I scroll down, you can see I have my 4 dots and it goes through the sections. So I added a sidecar. I told it what web map I wanted it to be. Not that one, edit. So here's that same thing where I told it what I wanted to use. And then it loads. You can tell it where you want it to be zoomed to, or what zoom extent you want to be zoomed to. And then eventually it will draw. And then you can say place map. But those web maps have to already be made, and they already have to have the symbology that you want. Then you can scroll down, and I have another sidecar. Eventually. I think my computer is being slow now. Yep, it is being very slow. As you scroll down, what's supposed to happen is, there it goes, is it jumps to each of your maps. Okay, so again, this is why you have to plan it out ahead of time before you begin. Otherwise, you're just sort of like lost in this web page. So have a good idea in your head first. Now it's all drawing. At the bottom, so what I have here are those sidecar panels, but you can also just add text yourself. So again, using that little plus sign, you can add what's called a content block and tell it what you want to put in there. Here I have some text, and then I have an image that I got from the InstaWeb web page. And the way images work, it's kind of neat. You don't necessarily have to download it and then upload it into your content. You can add an image using a link. So any web page URL that ends in a .jpg or .png, you can just paste that link right into here, and it'll dynamically add it into your Storymap, which is kind of nice. It's a nice shortcut to not have to download it and upload it again. Okay, so here I have just another web map in here that's full size. You can change the size of it as well. And then you can continue your story with more text. And then I'm going to jump to the bottom. So here at the bottom, I have another photo. You can also add in video, and you can embed that video right in here. You can embed a web page. So here I've embedded the Cameron Peak Fire story map into my Cameron Peak Fire story map. So it's like story map inception. And then when it eventually draws, at the very bottom, there's a really easy way right in your face to add attribution and credits. Oh, there it is. So here you can have a data sources and resources section, and this is built into it to give credit to where the data or may have come from or who made it. Once you get everything all done, then it's going to save for you, and then you want to publish it. It can't, no one can see it unless you publish it, and you have to share it and make it public as well. And that's how you make a story map. So I can't see the Q&A right now. I don't know where it went. There it is. So if anyone has questions, you are welcome to type them into the chat or the Q&A. I can now see both of them. I can't find my mouse though. And that's really all I had. I have a couple of slides here just to, in case things didn't work, at least I had some graphics to show you. My computer is not loving Zoom right now. The only thing left on here were just some resources. So when my computer comes back, we can look at that. We do have a question. Are videos hosted by that site, or you have to upload to different servers? So the way I did it was I just linked to YouTube, but there is an option to upload it as well. And I haven't played with that, so I don't know where you have to upload it to. So I would have to check on that, but you can easily link to YouTube.
This was really great, Beth. Thanks so much. And there's so much of this that can actually also contribute to, you know, what we'd like to do on our website is have some online videos with some, you know, short descriptions about how to do these sorts of things. I think this is a great example of how to package something like that up. But you have more that you want to say. Let me go ahead.
This would make a really great tutorial, and all these slides I was going to put on. Here are the resources, by the way, and you can get to these slides. They're not there yet, but they will be there soon. The Geospatial Centroid website, which was newly launched just a couple weeks ago, I will put it under learning resources here. So I'll put some Storymap stuff on here so you can get to those slides and the other resources. And then just my final question here is, what will you make your first story map of? So you can feel free to answer that or just leave that to think about. And that's my dog. She's adorable. So that's all I had. Amazingly, I finished in time because I always go long.
Yes, you did. That was excellent, Beth, as always. You know, and again, just carrying forward this theme of storytelling, that we can tell stories in very different ways now, and there's such, you know, such an avenue for exploration to be telling these stories and thinking about how to do it differently and having these interactive environments. And I just think this is really, really exciting. So with that, we've had a real consistent group of people on the call today, on the webinar. I'm so excited that everyone was able to participate and stay. I want to thank all of the participants, all of you who came virtually, and then I would like to thank all of our contributors who whether the panelists or Beth and Sophia and our speed stories talkers, all of these things. Just really appreciate people being able to contribute in this way, which again, I think it went okay. You know, it's not normal, but that's okay. And then just also, you know, longer term, the holiday is coming up. Please stay safe please have a wonderful holiday and take care of yourselves and stay healthy, all that sort of thing. And we will be in communication with all of you. Check out our new website. Someday, when the university opens back up in a normal way, we have new space of the Geospatial Centroid on the second floor of Morgan Library. We'll want everybody to come by and see us. It's a brand new space, and we haven't been able to be in there, but it's just waiting for us. Thank you all to the Centroid staff to help plan the event and get everybody invited and provide all the support for this. As always, you're the greatest. And with that, I'm going to say GIS Day comes to a close. So happy everything.
Thank you, Melinda.
Okay, bye-bye.
You're a wonderful host.
So Beth, I see that it's recording. Did you record this?
Yeah, somewhere in the second part of it, I hit record. And
yeah,
I stopped it and started it for the different sections. So you should probably have 3 recordings.
Okay.
3 separate files.
Yeah, I forgot to hit it when we started.
Yeah, that's too bad. I noticed, and I'm like, I didn't hit it before. So.
Okay, thanks everybody. I'm going to end the webinar and talk to you later. Bye-bye.